Lexus has been making regular self-charging hybrid SUVs for a long time. The first one was the RX400 back in 2005, but this new NX is the first ever plug-in hybrid from Lexus. So it's late to the plug-in party, but is it a case of better late than never? The NX is quite an important car for Lexus then, and not just because it's the firm's first plug-in hybrid, but it's also expected to be its best seller. The previous generation, that is the first generation NX, has sold 175,000 units across Europe and is the firm's biggest seller in the UK since 2015. So Lexus has got a lot of skin in the game for this car then. Question is it any good? It certainly looks the part. It's a case of evolution rather than revolution, which is probably a good idea for your best-selling model. The front end is neater, with the daytime running lights integrated into the main headlamp cluster, while the rear now features a full-width light bar, which gives it a bit of a Porsche Macan vibe. There is a non-plug-in self-charging hybrid with 244 horsepower. This, however, is the full-fat 309 horsepower 450h Plus, and it comes with 2 electric motors, an 18 kilowatt-hour battery, and it has an electric range of 47 miles, and it takes about 2.5 hours to charge up from a wall box. This puts it up against some very stiff competition, including the BMW X3 xDrive 30e, the Mercedes GLC 300e and the Audi Q550 TFSI-e, not to mention the Volvo XC60. Tough competition then. Can the NX stand out in a crowded marketplace? Well, it does help that Lexus likes to go its own way. Unlike its German rivals, this SUV is focused on luxury and comfort rather than sporty. So we'll find out in this video, but before we get started, remember to like and subscribe. Click here to subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you catch all of our latest videos. Things start well for the NX in the boot. The vast majority of its rivals sacrifice boot space compared with non-plug-in versions in the same range. Not so here. Whichever version of the NX you go for, you'll find 521 litres of space. There's also underfloor storage for all your leads too, which is often not the case with these sorts of cars. Oh, and every trim level gets an electric tailgate as standard. Kudos to Lexus for that. If you need a bit more space, then the seat backs do fold down, but only in a 2-way split. Rivals such as the Q5 offer a 3-way split folding rear seat. Now, if you look here though, you can adjust it in a sort of reclined fashion. There's 2 settings, so I'm going to put it in the more reclined setting. And once you get in, you can see there is plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom, even some lovely plush leather if you go for this F-Sport version. Now, it is a little bit dark in here, so if that bothers you, then it might be better to go for the cream leather. Up front, the theme of plush leather continues. In this top spec model, it's basically everywhere, which is a good thing because it looks great and feels very upmarket. The dashboard layout is good too, with a huge infotainment screen tilted toward the driver and all the most commonly used controls clustered around the driver. The idea is this minimises your distraction from the road ahead. It's very effective too with this head-up display, which is standard on F-Sport and range-topping Takumi. It's also very easy to use with these little touchpads on the steering wheel, much easier than the fiddly Volkswagen and Mercedes ones. The seats are also very comfortable. There's plenty of support without you feeling squeezed. They're heated and cooled and 8-way electrically adjustable, apart from the entry-level model, in which case they are manually adjusted. The infotainment screen itself is responsive and the map view screen is pleasingly enormous. It really helps you find your way around, and although the climate control functions are part of the touchscreen, at least they're not nested in a sub-menu. Overall, it's miles better than the previous model's fiddly touchpad setup. What's also quite cool about the NX is that Lexus clearly tries to do things a little bit differently. The gear selector, for example, you shove it towards you and then you go up like that to go into reverse, or pull it towards you to go in drive. It might seem a bit fiddly when you first do it, but it quickly becomes intuitive. Then there's the door handle, which is an electronic latch rather than a traditional mechanical lever. Now, that sounds like Lexus trying to reinvent the wheel, but actually it's rather clever. Because it's electronic, it can be tied into the NX's active safety systems, so it will actually stop you from opening the door if the car detects a vehicle or cyclist is about to zoom past. Now, that is smart. Anyway, best shut that door again because it's time for a drive. In electric-only mode, the NX450h has quite a lot of punch when first pulling away, and that's a good thing because providing there's enough charge in the battery, that is the default mode when you first switch it on. And to toggle between EV mode, hybrid and the setting that charges the battery from the petrol engine is very simply done by pressing a button here right by the gear shifter. And when you do wake the petrol motor, you'll discover that there really is plenty of performance on tap. The 2.5 litre engine plus twin electric motors combine to give you 309 horsepower and the capability to sprint from 0 to 62 in just 6.3 seconds. This thing really does surge forwards when you accelerate. Only problem is that petrol engine doesn't sound great when you stretch it. In fact, we'd go as far as to say it sounds raucous. So the best way to drive this car is to ease up a little bit and enjoy wafting around with that extra boost you get from the electric motors, knowing that additional performance is there if you really need it. And thanks to a CVT automatic gearbox, it is always running at optimum efficiency. Driving more gently brings impressive fuel economy too. With a full battery and leaving the car in hybrid mode, we've seen 60 to 70 miles per gallon on the trip computer, though that'll be closer to 40 miles per gallon once the battery's run down. And if you do a lot of shorter trips, then the car's potential 47-mile electric range means you should be able to get away with burning hardly any petrol at all. As well as avoiding burning petrol, you might also want to avoid burning rubber because it's not exactly a car that inspires you to drive in a sporty fashion. It leans quite a lot in corners and has a rather soft feeling to it. In a way, that is a good thing because it's very, very comfortable, and sporty SUVs would thump over harsh bumps in a rather uncomfortable way, whereas the Lexus silently squashes them for you. A very different experience. In the end, what impresses most about the Lexus NX is it dares to be different. Its rivals focus on sporty, it focuses on quiet and comfortable. Its rivals get that premium vibe from being solid and weighty. The Lexus, however, concentrates on being a well-crafted, well-thought-through product. For some, the fact it's so different from an Audi, BMW or Mercedes will put them off. For others, the very fact that it's not an identikit replica of its German rivals will be the very reason they go for one. So which side of the argument do you fall on? Let us know in the comments, and if you're considering buying a used one or indeed any car, head to cargurus.co.uk to find loads of great deals from top-rated dealers, including approved used examples.